Okay, we're good.
Yeah, we're on. All right. Okay, guys, before we start, can you just let us know if you can hear us? Give us a couple of yeses so we can get going.
Oh, that's cool. You have chat here as well. Nice.
Yeah,
So I don't need to open. Okay.
you
I
can
don't.
do everything here. Okay, we have the sound. Awesome. All right. So first of all, thank you all guys for joining us. Today we have a special guest. Gediminas Kirdeikis is an architect by training, has founded a Lithuania-based very good architecture company. He's also course coordinator and lecturer at Lund University in Sweden. Gediminas also runs two YouTube channels, where one of them is focusing on design software-oriented educational videos, and the other one is more focused towards just architectural design. Gediminas, congrats once again on reaching those 100,000 subs on YouTube, and welcome to our workshop.
Yeah. So it took 100,000 subs for you to finally have a conversation with me, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Now we can talk.
But okay. So I'm in the big boys club now. Great.
Now we can talk. We're
Thanks.
actually need to catch up to you. So
No, you're gonna get there. I can give you tips if you want to.
yeah,
Sure.
we'll talk about that. Awesome. So yeah, thank you again for joining us.
My
So
pleasure.
yeah, this is gonna be like a a casual conversation with you. We wanted to bring you on and also talk a little bit about your experience in using technology, using Grind, using Grasshopper, and your personal experience in terms of teaching, because you're also a teacher, and we are kind of in the same industry, so and we also have similar channels as well. So it's good to kind of connect with you now, and let's start with first just giving us a little bit of introduction of how you started, how you when did you start learning all of these tools, like how was university back then, and tell us a little bit about that.
God damn it, back then. How old do you think I am? Pretty old, pretty damn old, because back then we didn't have tutorials. So that kind of sucked. Um, so I studied in Vilnius Architecture, or Vilnius Arts Academy Architecture Department in Lithuania. And the on the technical side, we had 3ds Max, kinda. The lectures were basically us showing up to class and the teacher opening up the help file, and we're just going
Reading.
through, yeah, just reading us the help file. And we would share, like 3 of us would share one computer. Good times, good times. And besides that, the way of how we used software was teachers tell us what needs to be done, and we need to figure it out, right? So you need a CAD model of a building, figure it out. And then whoever caught whichever software did it, and we started learning from each other quite a bit. A bunch of stuff changed once we started getting these pretty gnarly workshops from Angevante. So there was this one student from Vilnius Arts Academy who went to study under Zaha Hadid in Angevante, and she brought back teaching assistant, I guess, back then in from Angevante, who was giving us workshops on Grasshopper. And that was my first kind of try with it. I didn't touch Rhino, I touched Grasshopper first, which is
Yeah.
funky.
That's I wanted to ask you. So you first started with the Grasshopper without knowing Rhino.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So that was fun. And the problem was that we would have these 2-week, 1-week workshops every semester, right? So once a semester, you get this kind of an input of information, a lot of information. You do the project, or it's not a project. You do a architectural art piece, and then the teacher fucks off. Can I swear here?
Sure.
Okay. And then the teacher fucks off for back to Vienna for half a year, and then we're just kind of stuck there trying to, okay, what we learned now we need to impose or use in architectural setting. Almost failed 2 semesters because of that. But then, slowly, and we talked about this right before we started this stream. For 3 years, I would hammer my head, trying to figure out how does Grasshopper work, and just putting in notes, trying to connect to them, trying to figure things out. Back then, forums were also not really that good. But eventually, I saw light at the end of the tunnel, and during my master's, I would say, so after 3 years, I would be able to create basically anything in Grasshopper that I need to, right? And then from there on out, a bunch of tutorials started happening, not from me, but just generally. The community started growing and the learning exponentially increased. And I would say 2 more years, and I became at a level where I would feel like I'm able to now also teach Grasshopper to others. So that was a long ass journey.
When was the year you graduated?
I graduated in 2008, 7, 8, something like that.
But the Grasshopper came out in 2009, right?
I started studying in 2008, so that means I graduated 2012. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, I was confused because I know we are similar, similar age.
Yeah.
We started 2009. I think.
We started 2009. Yeah. So you're 2 years ahead of us, I guess.
Yeah, because I'm born in 89.
89,
1 year. Yeah,
1 year.
So it's I got it wrong. Try to lie. Anyway.
So did you have anybody with you who was also learning together with you in your peer group at university, or you were the only one who was super?
There was at the start there was all of us who attended these workshops. So I would say 30 people. After bachelor's has ended, it was around 4 of us left who were still kind of struggling. And then after master's has finished, after we finished our master's, it was 2. So me and Petras Vestertas, who is now working in Switzerland, doing stuff with Philip Block for a Block research group.
Yeah, this is really like not that common to have this kind of education at university, like you did. For example, we had also we had one class which is called mathematics in architecture, but actually it wasn't real mathematics. It was just like let's do some fractals, let's learn about all of the tools, and that's where the teacher told us about Grasshopper and Rhino, but she actually didn't know it, so she brought somebody who's like mathematician to actually explain the mathematical logic of Grasshopper and just like showing us basic mathematical operations in Grasshopper, subtraction, addition, and so on. So it wasn't really, doing anything for us. It wasn't showing us how to do it. So we had to manually figure it out. Because that teacher also is now like she's involved into all of the new technology and all the software, but she doesn't know it personally. She just tries to bring people who are more experienced to actually teach it at university.
So she brought mathematician.
Yeah, she brought mathematician. Yeah, exactly.
Freaking nerds! I would quit. I would just quit right there. No, completely different. A completely different story. Because I should emphasize the word arts academy. So we would do sculpture with clay, the whole shenanigans, skulls and whatnot. We would do painting, we would do drawing, and then we would do a little bit of Grasshopper. And then once it's finished, we would go and do philosophy. Right.
Oh,
so and we didn't have math.
Yeah.
Right. So if I at that time, if I had to do Grasshopper from the point of view of pragmatism, from like the pragmatic side of things, I don't think I would have started using it. simply because it was a completely different world in which I was working.
Yeah. Cool. So what happened afterwards? Like once you graduated, once you like when you started working in the industry, did you have a chance to use it right away, or it was like a AutoCAD only and Max?
I forced it in, of course. I forced it in into a few tasks. So I was working with a few companies, some big, some smaller ones. And so for every project, I would find how to optimize it, how to do something in Grasshopper, even if it was something completely only aesthetics based. Yeah, and need it exactly. How just to increase the price of the quote. I did that for like 2 or 3 years, and then ended up stopping working for other companies and started doing freelance stuff instead, because I wanted to travel a little bit, to go around places and then to see the world a bit. Ended up in Sweden because one of the colleagues who I met in Oslo in Norway while I was studying there reached out to me saying that there is this guy who is looking for a teaching assistant, in Sweden. Would you like to, reach out to him, ask if you would, if he would need you? And I reached out and he needed me, and that's how I got the job in Lund University, where, ever since then I was kind of teaching there on and off.
What about that freelance work? Like that was architectural based work, or was it something else?
It was literally anything, because at that point I was a little bit burned out from architecture and generally from the process of architecture, because it was a few bigger projects, a lot of Excel spreadsheets, and I didn't want to deal with that. So I ended up doing freelance work with smaller projects, just for the money, with an asterisk. Money was okay, but freedom was important, and the fact that I still get to design things was also cool. So that part was not really that, like the type of work was not really that important. I did a few cafe interiors in Shanghai, and what was other cool stuff? A boat renovation in UK. Boat interior.
Did you use one of these like online platforms to get work, or?
Yeah, back then it was this people per hour kind of a website. I don't know if it still exists, but yeah, I used that.
That's the kind of, I have a similar story. I also started doing freelancing in 2000, I would say 13, and that's when my friend actually, gave me some work, and he's like, "This is something if you can do this in 3ds Max, like I'm gonna pay you because somebody else is paying me, and I cannot do it in time. So if you can help out, that's great." And I said, "Yeah, sure, let's do it." And I did it, and that was the first money I earned as like a freelancer, as a student. And then I said, okay, why should I mean, maybe I should try to do this myself, And then I opened the profile on Upwork. That was all desk back in the days. And that's how I actually started, also same kind of story, but I did also many different things. The good thing is that when you have the knowledge of the tools that you're using, like Rhino and Grasshopper and all these other tools, you can really apply to many different things. You don't need to be strictly focused on just, let's say, architectural design. You can do many different, design oriented jobs. And that was kind of really interesting experience to actually see how in a different parts of the world, how they actually treat online workers. It wasn't the same, so whenever I got, let's say, like a client from Australia or from the States, they were always, here's your work, I'm gonna pay for it, and that's it. When I got other, employers from, let's say, here Europe and maybe some different countries, it was always, can you do this a little bit more, and can you give me a little bit more kind of things to kind of work on for the same amount of money? So it was interesting to kind of see that relation of work and what actually tools that we know can help us with.
How
I
many?
remember, yeah,
Sorry, how many of these? I'm a genius, but no one still knows it. So I need you to 3D model out this thing for a patent. How many of those did you get? 'Cause I got
yeah,
a lot.
yeah. The thing is that like the most difficult part for me was those initial couple of jobs,
Mhm.
because when you're starting out, you don't have like your profile is not built up, you don't have any feedback, so nobody's gonna hire you for a beginner. And that's why like at the beginning I did a couple of things for free just to kind of get a job and get the good feedback for it. And then after that it was really just like going up. And
Mm.
I can actually advise anybody who wants to kind of go into freelancing. It's a great chance to actually work abroad and work for different clients. You can meet many different people, you can meet many different um, businesses all around the world. But yeah, at some point I actually mentioned this on yesterday's stream. I was working for a company that was developing spaceships and vehicles for movies and for TV shows. And you could actually see, like, I was modeling all of this with D splines back in the days. There
Mhm.
wasn't sub D, and I was modeling all of these kind of really interesting vehicles, and then you can see them in in TV shows later on. It was really enjoyable work, I would say.
Damn, that's
Yeah,
so
one is
cool.
Hollywood movie, and other I remember it's HBO TV show.
Yeah, there was a couple of HBO TV
Yeah,
shows.
Nice. That is
pretty
super
neat.
cool.
I
Such
know
such a
that
cool
was
thing.
comment.
I mean, one thing I guess to note is wait. Oh,
Yeah.
life. Life happens. One thing to note is that I guess for you the same. Everything I've done for freelance, I did in Rhino. So you need to tailor your
Profile, yeah.
portfolio, I guess,
Yeah.
in how you present yourself, so that you do get the work that you want to get. And even more important was for me to understand that living in back then Lithuania or Sweden or Norway, there is no way in hell that I can compete with China or India according
Sure.
to the hourly wage.
Mhm.
And just trying to, oh, if I just decrease my hourly wage, I will get more clients. That is such a bad strategy.
I agree. I agree.
Instead, it's much more important to create a service that is worthy of the
I
salary
agree.
that you want
I agree.
want to have. So don't think about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Like that's not sustainable at all.
Yeah.
And you should actually, think about your real working hour, like how much does it worth, and then based on that you can, put a price. The thing with freelance work is oftentimes, like not always, but oftentimes clients want you to give them like a quote for the whole thing,
Mhm.
not like just like per hour work. So it kind of depends what type of work you're doing. Are you doing per project or per hour? And based on that you can also kind of go in that direction. We have a small question here. Have you received any freelance work that is exclusive using Grasshopper? Or if so, how did it come about?
I did. I have received a few projects in Grasshopper to do Grasshopper work. Most of the time, it's from architectural offices who are just outsourcing their Grasshopper work to freelancers. For example, an office is doing some sort of a competition entry, and they need a facade guy to
Yeah.
create a facade system for them. In those cases, since the competition deadline is sharp, you get paid quite quickly, because if you don't get paid, you don't deliver, and if you don't deliver, they can't hand in, which is ideal. In other cases, it would be a developer. There was a Saudi Arabia project where a developer wanted to do some urban studies, right, of different distribution. And those kind of projects, like a more of a research based, where you're just widening the field of potential possibilities, That's a trickier one. For that one, you do need to have like a contract in place, with exactly, the deadlines and the deliverables. And if all the tick boxes are ticked, you can't let the client push you around too much, because you always need to look at the project as something. At the start, you widen out the possibilities of the design, but then you end up with, you converge into some sort of an output. And if you see that a client only wants you to widen out, that's a red flag right there, and you need more safety nets to deal with that. The reason why I'm touching upon this is because Grasshopper tends to do that a lot. Grasshopper work, it just widens out, and what if we add this variable in here? What if we add this
And then
variable?
you need to start from scratch again.
Yeah, exactly.
With the one project, yeah.
Yeah. So I did have it, but I wish that I didn't in some cases. I wish it was just a Rhino 3D modeling exercise.
That's never ending, I think, project with the Grasshopper if you deal with the clients like that. Yeah, we experienced similar things.
I mean, we had similar kind of experience with that, and like you hand in the script or whatever, and they still talk to you after that, and they want to add some more things, or something is not working with the script, and you kind of need to again spend some time with it and so on.
Also, I remember after some of the Rhino updates, something changed with the script, so you need to update the script and that kind of stuff as well. I mean, that can happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, this question, I guess,
that
was the question about what I was saying. How can architects work in the film industry? Are there specific firms? I don't know if there are specific firms for this, but I know that all of these, big Hollywood studios and like they have a lot of subcontractors who are actually responsible for building sets. And if you get in touch with some of those companies, they actually also use Rhino. And we have quite a lot of people who are set designers, and they're using Rhino, and they want to learn Rhino because they're using that on their work, because they're using those models not just to kind of see how the space is going to look like, but also to possibly produce this in real life later on. So if you search for like set designers, like this is actually like how you can get inside of that world.
Also SciArc, isn't it? Should just go to Los Angeles, study SciArc, and SciArc, easy.
Yeah. So in terms of like when you started at Lund University in Sweden, I guess you got in touch there with students firsthand, with kind of younger generation. And were you the only one there who was kind of the expert in Grasshopper and Rhino, or they had somebody else as well?
No, they had a few guys there. So that there was, and some of them are still there. So we had John Ross, who is currently, I think, in Texas, doing multi-material 3D printing research. He was the guy who got me into the school, basically as his assistant, and then he left. And suddenly all of his courses are mine now, and I'm freaking out, and everyone's freaking out, because then I'm not hired, and the school needs to hire me as fast as possible. It was a thing for a semester. But so that was John Ross. Then we have David Andren. We still have him, and he has a PhD in from Bartlett, or I think it's Bartlett, from Bartlett, and basically he deals with termite mounds and concrete 3D printing, clay 3D printing, and so on, just analysis. So Grasshopper for that. And then as an assistant in the courses together with me, we had Jesper Wallgren, who is now the creator of Finch 3D. And he's my neighbor as well.
Oh, really?
Cool. Yeah, we constantly meet. So yeah, small world, right? Small world. Yeah. But so there was a community, a small one in the university, but that was the first time when I was like, whoa, people actually know what I'm talking about. This is crazy. This is nice. And we started kind of sharing ideas, sharing thoughts, and just developing some of the courses even further than where they were before. And ever since then, I mean, in last 5 years, the school has grown. The schools, in general, computational design courses have grown, and now finally Lund University actually offers computational design masters.
Yeah, that's great.
Computational design architecture master's program.
The reason why I'm asking this because we speak with a lot of students, almost every single day, and I hear the same story from almost all of them. And the story goes like, they just tell us that we need to learn Rhino and Grasshopper, and they show us just super basic stuff, and then they expect us to learn it ourselves. So they don't the school doesn't provide the necessary knowledge and assistance, and the school doesn't have the professors who are actually architects who are mastering the software. So that's a big problem. And the issue is that how do we bring this knowledge? How do we give this knowledge to the students? In your case, this is like one rare case where that university really teaches this, but in general, it's totally different. So have you noticed any kind of feedback from students who are at your university about that?
People tend to get very complicit, I guess. I don't know if that's the correct word to use, but people tend to, if things are working and if everything's fine, people will still find places where things are not working and ignore
Sure.
places where they are, right? So have I heard anything from the students in terms of, oh, great, we have so many resources?
Not
Kinda.
really.
When they do student exchanges and they come back, they go like, okay, it's a little bit different outside. But since this is the only world that they know, this particular university, not so much. But there is one thing that I actually had this talk that I did for the architecture department staff. So it was a lecture not for the students but for the staff, where I was talking about YouTube and digital platforms versus universities. And basically, my whole spiel was that for 20 minutes, I kept telling the teachers that they're going to be out of jobs soon. but jokes aside, the idea that I kind of proposed was that the schools are like cathedrals where ideas are put to test over time. And they're very methodical, they're very slow to change, and they're very slow to adapt. And they are driven by some sort of set of core values that are very difficult to change. And you can kind of attach things to them, of course, workshops and courses and so on. So, but the initial thread is very, very linear and very, very slow to turn. AI, for example, the schools are still going, no, ChatGPT, everyone's cheating. What do we do? For 2 years. They're still caught off guard for 2 years and don't know what to do. That's crazy to me, bunch of idiots. Anyway, but if we look at the digital side of things or digital platforms, how to Rhino, Design Go, whatever, and the be it the school platform or be it Discord servers, those are much more like marketplaces for ideas. That's much more of the hierarchy is lost, and everyone is talking about everything, right? And only the interesting bits survive. And for example, workshops that don't benefit anyone, just in YouTube algorithm, just nope, throws it immediately away. So it's a much more of a Wild West type of situation where things evolve really, really quickly, really rapidly. And the problem with that is NFTs, the AI craze, like everything. All of these waves where they're uncontrolled and it's like everyone's, this is the new thing, this is going to be insane, this is crazy. And then, half a year goes past, oh, it's just a bunch of scams. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
it happened with Metaverse, if you remember.
Oh yeah, good times. Good, good. Yeah, I do remember. I had a few students who tried to do a metaverse thesis project, and I was like, "Don't. Just
Yeah.
trust me. This will not age well."
Yeah.
So then my proposal for that is, what if the universities could host some of these marketplaces within them, right? What if these communities that me and you guys are building up could be hosted by different universities, not one, but different universities, and we could offer actual diplomas, from the courses that the students attend. And what I'm trying to do with my YouTube channel is, I'm don't tell anyone this. Oh, glad people are not listening, but I'm trying to integrate the courses that I record into the curriculum of the university over time, so that they are completely reliant on the courses, and thus the channel is required to follow in order to get the bachelor's diploma in the
That's
school of,
smart. That's smart.
because that would kind of give a precedent for an online community collaborating fully with a university, and it actually holding value. Because other communities, like if you look at Punisher, right, and the competitions that he does, these kind of how are they called, like challenges, yeah,
Challenges, yeah.
3D challenges that he does. Community is huge, and just attending the community, like attending with the community, being part of it, creating a project there will land you, as long as the project is good, will land you a spot in a studio, right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is worthy as a portfolio entry, kind of
Yeah.
fully. And the only reason why it's a little bit more difficult for architecture is because of the accreditation, right? Because the government is holding on to this, oh shit, these are buildings, they need to actually be, kind of, or
What was
architects
what
need to be
what was the
wrangled.
feedback you got from the teachers and professors when you talk with them about all of this? What was the feedback?
Basically. Basically that some, not all of them, of course, not all of them, but most of them didn't like what they heard. Some of them were just confused and didn't know what's happening. YouTube, what's YouTube? That's weird.
Yeah.
Television? How can you talk on television? It's only announcers can talk on television, and so on. But from the remaining, I would say, quarter or 1/3 of the teachers, we had a pretty nice discussion of how would this actually operate and how would this hosting happen.
And this was the talk only at your university, right?
Yeah. It was, we constantly hold these talks, so we call them brown bag seminars, during lunch. We just all hang out in one room, and one of the people talks at everyone else,
Yeah.
which I think is kind of nice.
Got it. So then, like, at which point, like, when you started there, did you start with the YouTube together when you were doing the work at university, or that happened later?
That happened during COVID, right? That happened during COVID.
Well, I think I checked your channel. I think you had a first video in 2017 or something like this.
Yeah, but that's not that was not for YouTube, so to say. That was not from me. That was just, oh, where do I put this? I have this video recorded. Where can I add this in? And okay, YouTube. But then COVID. Once COVID hit and everyone's locked down, and what do we do now? Well, okay, we do online courses, and I'm not giving you a freaking lecture over Zoom. Screw that. You can watch it. You can watch it at your own pace, and I don't need to see you watching it. I will be able to tell, and that's when YouTube actually happened, like started happening.
I really liked your what was it? The video when you had first 10,000 subscribers, when you did like the robot cut or wolf
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
of the foam. That was fun.
Yeah, yeah, those were the days, and it was that robot lab was in the bottom of, or in the basement floor of a chemistry department, and with a very, very, very poor ventilation. So I was high out of my mind from
Whoa.
the toxic fumes of the styrofoam, and no one was allowed to go back then into the robot lab, simply because it didn't have proper ventilation procedures, and also it was COVID. So double whammy, right? So I was just alone there, high as a kite, just
Yeah.
cutting styrofoam and dancing for 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. Those were the
Nice.
days. Good
Nice.
times. Good times.
We have a comment. Gediminas, you forgot to change your new video title.
Changing.
Okay.
Freaking YouTube. It's not my fault. It's YouTube's fault. How do
Yeah,
you write photogrammetry? Double M?
I guess autogrammetry. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
do you have any kind of, when you started with YouTube? I know we talked about this before, that at the beginning you had people who were telling you like you cannot have long form videos on YouTube because that's not gonna feed the algorithm, that's not gonna work. And you said, okay, I'm gonna do it anyways. And like tell us a little bit about that story.
There was a guy. There was a guy on YouTube who said that no one's gonna watch. No one's gonna watch this freaking long ass video that you've done, and I decided to, on purpose, start making longer and longer videos, and then I found value in them. So it probably wrong way to go about it, but ended up working out. Now I installed TikTok for a minute and then uninstalled it immediately. First of all, I freaked out how quickly it figured me out. You know, after a minute, I see bonsai, I see vintage bikes, camera repair, and architecture.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got me. You got me there. That's all I am. And then I just uninstalled TikTok from there. I tried to play the Instagram game as well, but I noticed how hungry the algorithm is. And then I didn't want to do it anymore, because it's more important to create something of an essence over long term rather than market things. Unless you have a guide to do that, right? If you have a dedicated person to do that, that's great. But I'm working on this channel alone. So no, that's a no. And I ended up kind of just thinking about, okay, if a short form content is a tutorial and a long form content is a course, what's the difference between a tutorial and a course? What's the value in long form content? And I think the value is showing everything, first of all, not just how do you arrive from point A to point B, but also what is out there between the 2 points. Just looking around, seeing, don't go there, that's a bad look. I'm gonna step in the shit and for
Show
you.
you how to
So,
get out.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that you can see what happens and how do you get out of it, right? That's one thing, but that's technical. Another thing is, I think, just being able to give away the mindset that you need to have to tackle a certain design problem or a certain design thing. What kind of mindset, and also generally what kind of approach, but like a mental approach, should you have, right? So way of thinking that doesn't get through in a tutorial based
Takes time.
material.
Cool. Let's answer some questions.
Okay.
Do we have something? Yeah, for example, do you personally enjoy more Grasshopper or Unreal? We can see this from your videos as well.
Do I enjoy more Grasshopper or Unreal? Um, I. It's like, what do you like more, screwdriver or hammer?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
They're just tools, I guess.
Yeah, to different.
Honestly, I mean, of course, I'm more comfortable in Grasshopper, right? It's first of all, the user interface is just easy, and you don't really need to think too much about it. So operating with Grasshopper is easier, and thus it's more enjoyable. Unreal Engine is pretty. It's really
Yeah, yeah.
pretty. So when you make something, it's really nice. It feels better to me when in Unreal Engine I'm developing some sort of. Right now, I'm slowly developing an update to the virtual reality course because there has been a few improvements in Unreal Engine, and also Meta, Facebook has released the lockdown on outside tracking, which means that now we can do gesture control without controllers,
Oh, nice.
which is very nice, because that means you can go like, I want to go there, and you just
Yeah, yeah.
do the finger, so they track arms. Anyway, so as I'm working on that in Unreal Engine, and I'm doing all of these node wrangling thing and so on, and then I just press compile, put on the headset, and it just goes. Right? I'm like, that's to me much more immersive than Grasshopper, when you just kind of connect the node and
You wait.
okay, the
Yeah.
panels are now flat.
Mm.
Now I can laser cut them. Cool.
Yeah, well, I guess it's a different time in different tool for different purpose, and that's
Absolutely, it is, and it's like you can't use Unreal for manufacturing. There's no
yeah,
way.
yeah.
Right?
I remember you were trying once to kind of connect them, Grasshopper with Unreal.
Yep.
Have you found any new workflows that are now maybe more fluent or more seamless, or you always have to first compile it in Grasshopper, then bake it, and then push it to
So
Unreal?
they are developing Rhino inside Unreal.
Mm-hmm.
2018, I think, was the last update, and the update didn't work. So
Uh-huh.
developing is a strong word, right? Also, there are plugins kind of that do that. NVIDIA has, I forget the name, but NVIDIA has its own kind of a app. Omniverse, is
Oh,
it?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember something like that. Yeah.
So you can kind of transfer from Grasshopper directly into Omniverse, and then fetch from Omniverse into Unreal Engine. So Omniverse working at this in between layer. That's almost real time. That almost works real time. But honestly, I was researching into this. I was really thinking about, okay, at what point would I need my Grasshopper to actually be real time transferring data into Unreal Engine, and I couldn't find any
Use case. Yeah.
real use cases. So I just stopped doing that. And Excel spreadsheets are fine.
Sure.
Just creating CSV file pushes out there. That's fine, and automatically updating them. But I still, I think it's going to be developed. The bridge between the two. But if someone figures out what you could use it for, that would be great.
Yeah. Yeah. Agree. um, uh, what about now? Like, for example, we talked about Rhino, Grasshopper, Unreal, all of this. Uh, how does this work in real life? Uh,
Mhm.
you have your own architectural company, very good architecture company. So first of all, tell us a little bit about like why is the name the way it is, and then
Mhm.
secondly, how do you guys use the technology in your company?
There is a, well, the name comes from a TV show, actually. Me and my wife, we were, back then she wasn't my wife, but long story. We were discussing, what kind of name should we give to our company. Um, and there was a list, right? And then most of the names were very much, MVRDV, BIG, that kind of stuff, ZHA. And then I was like, but there is this TV show that we both liked, where called Parks and Recreation. It's like very much The Office style TV show,
Yeah.
where one of the protagonists opens up a construction company called Very Good Construction Company, and his argument for it is it both tells what is the product that is being sold or service that is being provided, and also it gives indication to the quality that should be expected. And really loved the pragmatism of it. Both of us did, and we just went for it. And the only drawback of it is that our emails are gnarly. When we send out emails, it's Gediminas Kirdeikis at verygoodarchitecturecompany.com.
Very long, yeah.
Yeah, but it's memorable. So it kind of works. And I don't know. I mean, we have received quite a few positive comments from the clients that it's a fun name, and it's a refreshing name compared to more of a extravagant, alternatives that are out there. Phoenix.
So are you
Phoenix.
guys like, what is your typical workflow? Like, do you use something else apart from Rhino, or you're strictly doing everything there?
So we do Rhino for proposal phase exclusively, and also for like render prep and so on. Everything is done in Rhino, and then we kind of switch between Rhino and ArchiCAD, not Revit, ArchiCAD. The reason being that ArchiCAD did a very smart thing in Lithuania, not just Lithuania, in other countries as well, where they offered free tutoring. So they would send out their expert, their instructors to schools, and the instructors for free would teach the staff how to teach students. So now we have a bunch of students in Lithuania who know how to work with Rhino pretty well. With ArchiCAD pretty well, Rhino too. That we can't really just simply force over to Revit. But with that being said, we're slowly moving away from ArchiCAD as well. It's there's a problem of the duopoly, right? Where Revit is insanely expensive. And ArchiCAD goes, well, if they're insanely expensive, we can be just crazy expensive, and it's gonna be much cheaper than insanely expensive. So they kind of just do, the step ladder type of thing, because it's only two of them. So now what we're doing is we're slowly migrating over the summer, hopefully fully migrating from ArchiCAD for the technical phase back to Rhino completely.
So are you going to be using like some kind of plugins for Rhino for that, or
we'll start vanilla?
VisualArch?
We'll start vanilla. We'll see. It's better because the company is still small, and we do small projects, and on purpose, by the way. This is like I don't have any girlfriends, but that's my decision. Right? On purpose, we're doing small projects, I promise. That enables us to be a little bit more flexible, and also and because of that, we are going to first see all of the pain points that we have in using Rhino, and then we will address them either through me scripting, scripts to help with that, or downloading plugins. Worst case scenario, we just download the BIM one,
VisualArch?
VisualArch, yeah. And then call it a day.
Yeah, we had this question before a lot of times about the comparison between when would you be able to use, when should you use VisualArch, when should you use Revit and ArchiCAD. And the one thing I say to everybody is that it kind of depends on the scale of the project, how big the project is, because for smaller scale projects, VisualArch is going to be just fine. But if you're dealing with, high-rise buildings and very huge projects, that's going to be very demanding on Rhino. And Rhino is not built as a BIM tool, so it's going to struggle.
Yep, exactly. And for multi-story buildings like skyscrapers and whatnot, uh, I completely understand the pricing of
Mm,
Revit, and
yeah,
because at that point you're dealing with companies that the revenue is insane, like the turnaround revenue is insane. But when you have a company of 7 people or 5 people and they're developing family houses, the price per seat of Rhino is Revit
right, yeah.
is way too punishing for it to be viable, in my opinion. So there needs to be, actually, shout out to Epic Games and to all of their like marketing, not like financing, the way of how they structure their financing. If your company earns less than 1 million euros per
You can
year,
use it for free.
it's
Yeah,
free,
yeah,
right? But if it earns more than 1 million, you pay a percentage of the revenue earned, which means that if you're a multi-billion dollar company, you're basically paying so much that other companies below you are able to use the
to use
product
it.
for
Yeah,
free. I
yeah.
think this is the best.
I recently listened to the podcast
Lex
of
Friedman
the
one.
yeah, Lex
Mm.
Friedman with the guy. What was the name of the guy? I forgot. Um, the
Tom Sweeney, Tim
Tom
Sweeney.
Sweeney. Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
It is really like I really loved it, like his way of thinking and the way that he developed Epic Games, and it was really
Yeah,
like
he's cool.
you can see he has good intentions overall, and how much money they lost, and they intentionally lost money to be able to do some things later on. So um,
Yeah, he's planning ahead and like decades rather than
yeah.
quarters, like most of company CEOs.
So I wanted to kind of connect with um, like the YouTube thing you're doing, and then also like we talked yesterday with Oliver about marketing in general, like marketing about your
Mhm.
company and so on. And he mentioned that now it's like so much easier with all of these AI tools to feed the algorithm what they want, because you can produce so much more than before. So how did you find this, like, let's say YouTube fame? Did it connect to getting more customers at your very good architectural company, or no?
No, of course not.
Really?
Did zero, probably zero. Can't say zero, but definitely the effect on the customers, at least for the company, was so small that it didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just because of the nature of the content, right? The content is for architects to learn how to architect, which means that why would they need services from us if they're
Yeah, yeah.
architects who
It's
are
not the
learning how to
same.
architect?
It's not the same. Yeah, same user at the end of the day. Yeah.
With that being said, the second channel, get done,
Mm-hmm.
where I upload the Japanese house renovation project, as well as cool architecture that I like, where it's much broader
Mm-hmm.
scope stuff.
Broader audience.
That one has
Mm.
brought in clients. That because then suddenly your net is wide enough so that it's not just designers who can make their own house, right? And
Was that the
that one
whole
works.
idea behind that second channel, to kind of potentially get some work from it, or no?
No. The idea of the second channel came from me just scrolling through the feed of all of the material that I'm producing on the main one and going, we're all over the place, aren't we? Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sometimes doing a project, sometimes I'm doing a physical model, sometimes I'm teaching. Uh, we were already planning on purchasing a house in Japan, and I definitely wanted to make it into video series. So I was like, okay, we just do one educational, which long format. We do tutorials, courses, and whatnot. And then the second one is a few TV shows. So one TV show, cool architecture that I like, cool buildings that I like, where I just sit down and yap about a building that I like, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Another one, the Japanese house renovation project. Third one, when in office, I way for me to meditate is to build architectural models. So I just turn on the camera and I, start gluing architecture. So that one also zero commentary, just music playing and me building models.
Yeah, it's more casual, I would say.
Absolutely, yeah. It doesn't have an aim to educate. It just has an aim to showcase things that I personally find interesting and enjoyable, and just trying to find like-minded people who also find those things interesting.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So to kind of close this off, I would just kind of, we need to touch upon the topic of, technology in the future and present. And we briefly talked about ChatGPT, like when it started 2 years ago. And now it's like all of these technologies seem to kind of grow together, not just AI, but also robotics and, manufacturing, all of this. How do you see this, advancing forward? And do you think that students and architects should, be involved in it? Should they care about it? We all know that, in general, architectural industry is slow to adapt to the new things. But from your point of view, how do you see this?
Well, when it all started, back then, when it all started, remember the AI taking over and like everyone saying how it's going to shake
Yeah.
things up and so on. And I still don't see any shaking whatsoever, neither in the academia nor in the industry. I see um, I see a lot of problems that are new problems that are emerging, at least within the education spectrum. And I see some optimizations in the architecture visualization or concept art in industries, but I don't see the tools that we currently have, the AI tools specifically, that we currently have um, going out of the sphere in which they started, right? So what we saw 2 years ago, and uh, they promised that, this is going to be developing so fast that it's going to step outside of the sphere any day now. So it's still very much within the sphere of what you saw back then. Maybe a little bit higher quality, but nothing fancy. And I do, like, my job is to scrub through and try to find interesting things about AI and interesting things in the industry about AI, and I really can't yet. Like Jesper's Finch 3D, they are kind of using AI, but not really. I mean, it's very much
machine
of a
learning.
mixture, and it's like 20% AI maybe, and then everything else is computation driven, right? Library based, pick and choose plan that is closest. So with that being said, I do think that there is going to be a jump in the technology, like the AI technology, someday. I don't know when. No one knows when. And it feels to me that the systems that we currently have, the LLMs and so on, that we currently have, will need to drastically change for that jump to happen. So it needs to be stepped, right? It can't
Yeah.
be a linear progression. And when is the next step? Maybe next year, maybe in 30 years, maybe in 100 years. Who knows how hard it is to reach that one? And until it is reached, I am skeptical that AI will have any benefit to architecture, like in terms of maybe in small tasks, right?
Yeah, in terms of replacing people as architects or replacing
Yeah.
people.
When it comes down to design, I'm talking mostly about design. When it comes down to right now, Chinese company ZW Soft, I think, they're basically creating a clone of AutoCAD, ZW CAD. The new release that they have has a function called Find Similar, and you select a window block and you type in Find Similar, and it gives you all of the blocks that have a similar look
It's
to
like
to
more
the window block.
visual recognition, some
Yeah,
sort.
yeah. So that kind of stuff, sure, that's gonna happen.
Mhm.
We're not gonna call it AI. We're not even gonna think about it. but the AI that we were promised, that there's going to be a assistant next to you that helps you design, gives you good ideas and then proposals. I don't know. I'm quite skeptical. I wish it was there so that I could shit on it, in a video. Imagine the content, the amount of content of breaking it every single day. That
Yeah,
would be great.
yeah.
But
You mentioned that clone of AutoCAD. We use this software when I was working in China, and it has like some super cool features. I remember that AutoCAD doesn't have. I remember just one for the elevations. So it know when you place elevation numbers, so it exactly know what the number of the elevation is. You don't need to change the numbers,
oh,
and
okay, cool. So it
smart.
relates it,
Yeah,
right?
it has so many smart features that AutoCAD doesn't have.
Yeah, and they're developing quite quickly. Actually, shout out to them because they're doing a really good job, and they are still in like how is it called, locked monetization, like when you don't do a monthly payment system, rather, or yearly payment system, rather you just pay once.
like one-time payment. Yeah, yeah.
One-time payment, one-time purchase. Yeah, that kind of system, which I think is, Rhino is also that. So it's much less predatory compared to monthly
Yeah,
payments.
we actually asked this guys from McNeil about this, I mean, last year, 2 years ago, I forgot, about the type of like one-time compared to subscription-based payments, and they just said like if our users want to have like a one-time payment, we are going to give them one-time payment, and it's more about what the users want than what the corporation wants, because they are not a corporation. They're like the 35 developers who are all shareholders of the company, so
Yeah, exactly.
that's the difference, because when these companies get huge shareholders and they get investments, then they just need to work for profit.
No, I mean the worst thing that can happen to this kind of a company is going public, right? And
Yeah,
then offering shares, public shares, because then the pressure just forces them to monetize every single thing.
yeah.
And it's like now I'm editing my videos in DaVinci rather than
Premiere. Yeah.
Premiere, not because DaVinci is better. It's not bad, but simply because man, Adobe, come on, come on, man. But just coming back to the shortly, I mean, to the topic of technology in the future, the the thing that I see happening more and more is the merging of digital and physical. Um, it's slow. It is definitely slow, but the amount of money that is invested by Meta, Valve, and so on to these headsets,
Connected.
and
Yeah.
then you have the AR stuff for manufacturing and so on. I mean, it's definitely not receding. It's increasing in speed, but it is a very slow increase still. I do see it continuing to increase. Because now, when I look at the contractors, at least in Lithuania, who are doing renovation or new construction, they're starting to use a tablet to check a BIM model and
Measurement.
to actually measure, and then they take a picture and they align the picture of the model. So we have the makers of things learning the digital side of things, and once they do that, once it becomes common ground, common knowledge, then suddenly there's going to be a bump in the for the architects, because suddenly, oh crap, the contractors are asking us for this 3D model and for it to be uploaded to whatever Speckle or whatever other platform. And another, more developed developer, let's say, asks us for a AR system or VR system. Some clients come in and ask for a VR, presentation of a room. So I do see that part of technology also definitely growing in the next like 5-10 years.
It's definitely going to be interesting, but yeah, this is just something that we also noticed that you should be at least up to date with what is there currently, and to kind of know in which direction like things can go in architecture. And also your professors and your teachers at university, they do tell you things that you need to learn, but it's up to you to actually do it and spend time with it, and sometimes even waste time, and it's normal. So you just need to really be committed when it comes to learning new tools, new software, new, whatever it is, like whatever you're interested in, you kind of need to really be committed if you want to get the results.
Can I vent a bit, just a
Mm.
tiny bit, just a little bit?
Yeah.
Just one thing that I really, really hate, dislike, don't like, I find to be not nice, is the new computational program that I was talking about in the university brought in a lot of enthusiasts of Grasshopper
Mhm.
and coding and in general. And they are going for architecture masters, and they can't draw, and they can't, well, some of them can. I can't say everyone can draw, but on average, per average, the skill set of as a designer is much more diminished compared to the skill set of a tool maker or a script maker and so on. And somehow when I'm talking with the students, and not just the students, the teachers as well, that are really into computational design, it feels to me like they find value in just using the tool without actually thinking about what value is it that we're creating by using the tool. And I think that is also an important, not for this talk, but generally an important discussion to have is, okay, so we can optimize, we can form find, and so on. We can do all of these things in Grasshopper. Is it sufficient to just be a Grasshopper person or a coding person, or should you be much more of an all-rounder to actually fit properly as a designer in a company or in the society? And I think we still are trying to find that balance there, and it's currently a little bit towards, oh, exciting, tools. When I change the slider, the skyscraper grows.
The thing is that I think that these people are in minority. Like they're like majority of students don't know these tools, and like
No, of course. I'm talking about specifically the computational design program.
Yeah.
And so it's a very skewed portion of the students, but also it's a portion that I'm most exposed to, because then I go to my Discord and it's the same same situation, right?
Yeah, like I did this in Grasshopper. Look at this.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. So for the last segment, we had let's answer some questions. We have quite a lot. Try to answer as much as we can.
All right.
So let's start with this one. How was your journey to content creation, architecture? What clicked for you?
Okay. There was no journey. It's not a journey. What do you mean journey? It's I just sit here, I record the video, I press publish, and I post it, and then people, if people like it, they watch it. If they don't like it, or no, for educational content, if people need it, they watch it. If they don't need it, they don't. So I wouldn't call it a journey, but what clicked was me finding how little free resources there are, and like finding out is a overstatement. I kind of knew, but really seeing it for what it is, and then going, okay, I'm just gonna fill in this void to the best of my ability, and just seeing the appreciation from the community, and keeping going from there on out.
Cool, awesome. How do we bring tools like Rhino and Grasshopper to countries like Brazil that still don't use these tools?
One person at a time, right? You create something like Grasshopper, Rhino, and so on have their own values, or they have value. They hold value in the efficiency, in the what kind of models you can make, how you model, and so on. The software itself, the tool itself is valuable, which means that if you are a person who is able to use a stronger tool, a more valuable tool, you will be more valuable to a company, right? And you will be more sought after. And then, right, just kind of showing to the company that, okay, this is how I am valuable, and maybe some other person will see, okay, this person uses Grasshopper to optimize, whatever window scheduling or whatever it is. I'm gonna also use that. Why not? It increases my chances of getting hired. And then, I mean, it doesn't just
It doesn't happen overnight.
happen overnight, right? It takes time, but there is nothing that since there are no alternatives. I'm sure that through generations, Brazil will use Rhino and Grasshopper. You can just speed it up by using it yourself and telling others to use it.
And also showcasing what you can do with it. And then when people see it, they're like, okay, you saved me 3 days of work.
Yeah.
Let's try the next thing. Maybe you can save me even more time. And that's how you show the employers what the tools can do, because a lot of these, older architectural companies and firms, they don't use new tech because they're afraid of spending too much time to learning it and then not seeing the results right away. And a lot of these companies just work for profit. So if they don't see the profit right away, they're not going to waste time. They would rather do the things the old way that they know that it works and it would bring them money than just investing a lot of money and time into learning the tools that may help them in, let's say, 2 years from now. So I would say it also comes down to the how big the office is, if they have the staff, if they have the time, if they have the the financials to also support this.
But I think it's a pain in the ass to convince your employers to
It is
change
for
the,
sure.
the workflow. Or if they use, for example, SketchUp, it's a big firm. It's even though you
No,
give them an example,
it's never the
change
big
it.
firms. It's never the big
Yeah.
firms. It's the big firms change when they see that there's a fire under their asses from the small firms that are
Exactly.
overperforming them. So you make changes from the small firms. But it's super accurate what you said about it. Yeah.
I'm 28 and starting my Grasshopper Rhino journey. Good luck, Angel. Any tips to learn faster, better, but with a very busy work schedule? It's hard to find the time to improve while working.
Too old, give up. Way too old. I know it's the brain is not developing anymore. It's too late. Okay, faster learning. Okay, I do have some. So you should watch my no.
My 12-hour video.
Yeah. Actually, I mean, I made it for this purpose of getting people onto this level where they can take the second step. So I'm going to talk about the second step. After you kind of know what the nodes are doing and what is possible to do in Grasshopper, create a small project for yourself, a small task, and do it. Troubleshoot it. Use ChatGPT. That's fun. See how ChatGPT handles it. Then once you fail, go and ask the forums for help.
Sorry, but I really don't suggest to use ChatGPT.
No, do it. See what happens. I want to sprinkle in a little bit of chaos into
Yeah, you made a video of this. I remember you made a short tutorial on it, like
it's
gonna show what it can do,
complete
what
shit
it
show.
cannot do.
Yeah, it was bad. I did one on Grasshopper and one on Blender geometry nodes. Both were a disaster.
Yeah.
But learning through small tasks and gradually increasing the tasks or the things
Practice is the
that
exercise
you
you're
do
getting
is
at.
the best way for sure.
Yeah, that's great advice.
We also shared this in the live event a couple of days ago. In our experience, it is the same thing. Like just doing some small design tasks many times, and then just like you said, hitting the wall many times, and then just not quitting. But every single time when you try something, try tomorrow morning, it's probably gonna be better than in the evening. So that's the tip.
No, do it overnight. Do it overnight with ChatGPT and DeepSeek both. 2 tabs, ask same question, try to follow both. Do averages. Do averages of both suggestions. Okay.
In your opinion, 5 years out, which skill will matter most for the next wave of computational architects? That's a nice question.
Skill, same skill. Computational architects. Sorry, computational architects. So first of all, what's the position of a computational architect in different sized companies, right? When you have a company as big Bjarke Ingels Group or Zaha Hadid Architects, right? You have a whole damn team, and you don't really within that team, you don't really do architecture. Rather, you work with architects to help them do architecture, right? If that makes sense, right? You're making sure that the facade happens. You're making sure that the structural system happens. You analyze things and so on. But you're not. You're part of a bigger team. In smaller offices, you need to juggle both tasks, right? You do site visit, you talk with the client, you also draw plans and sections, elevations, and also you do grasshopper stuff, right? You're your own kind of team, I guess. So I think the skill set will differ from or required skill will differ for both. So for the large teams or architects, computational architects working in larger companies, larger teams, I think it's going to stay quite the same. Scripting and being able to vibe code, I guess, is going to be a little bit of a more of a okay thing to do. I'm not sure how the society will react to vibe coding. It seems like there's a little bit of pushback now. Vibe coding meaning AI helps you.
Have you tried it?
I don't code. I'm not a nerd. So no. But so that integrating AI into the workflow probably will be a thing that you will need to learn how to do and how to do properly. With that also, in certain cases, different real-time representation techniques will be required. So simulation, real-time simulation, and being able to actually, adapt to real-time stuff. So I'm talking not necessarily Unreal Engine. It could be Houdini for some simulations and so on, but real-time stuff. And then for computational architects working in smaller companies or on your own, I would say probably the biggest skill set is going to be being able to. It's actually going to be the marketing thing. I think it's going to be how do you sell the project to a client that is computationally driven. Right, because right now it's very homogeneous. Like the design that we do when it's smaller scale, the design is very much homogeneous. So it's hard to pinpoint which part is computational and which one is not. And there's from the client's perspective, there's almost no value added to it being computationally driven.
Yeah, they don't care. They just care about the final result.
Exactly. So the question is then how do you increase the marketing value of it being done computationally, the flexibility of the systems that you create, and so on. And probably how do you pair it with, again, I'm back to the real-time stuff, but I do think that finally we're at the stage with graphics cards and processing that we have, where real-time stuff starts making sense. And then having discussions with clients where you have a grasshopper system in place, and the client says that they want to change something about the design of the building, and you can do that on the spot with them, preferably exploring it through VR, and then the client vomits on the floor because suddenly the whole VR experience changed. But hopefully that kind of makes sense. Like the two worlds, and they're going to be similar but a little bit different. So you need to figure out which world you do want to be a part of, I guess.
Okay, so we have this next question about kind of similar topic. Are very good architecture company project images rendered or real?
Most of them are real. Wait, let me check. Very good architecture company.
I guess they're referring to your products on the website, I guess.
Yeah, on the website. So, okay. In terms of architecture, I can see, okay, there's a lot of renders. The problem with architecture is that it takes a pretty damn long time to actually be built. And it's not just that. What we learned is it's not enough for it to be built. You also need to wait for the grass to grow and the trees to to get leaves, or else the photos will look really bad.
Yeah.
So a lot of the development here that we have are indeed rendered on the architectural side of it. But there's like more than half of these are going to be finished either this year or year after that. And then for the interiors, almost all of these are just photos. Yeah. Because interior, you don't need to wait for the grass to grow, and it happens in a year rather than 3 or 4 years compared to architecture.
There we go. And then we can maybe close up with this question. How would you advise to stay up to date with all of the emerging tech? Every day I feel like there is a million new things.
Don't be scared of that. So there is. And I get overwhelmed as well with how much crap,
New stuff is coming
new
out. Yeah.
stuff is coming out. You need to take a deep breath and understand that out of all of that new stuff that is coming out, only the useful ones will survive, and the survival takes a few years. And for sure, you will start hearing about it. For the more useful stuff, you will start hearing about it over time, more and more, and you'll start kind of reacting to it. There is no tech that just comes in, bam, out of nowhere, and it just changes the industry, and anyone who hasn't learned it will get left behind. That's not going to happen. Neither with AI, neither with NFTs, metaverse, nothing like that, right? So don't uninstall Twitter, uninstall TikTok, keep TikTok, follow How to Rhino, but or disconnect. Buy a Sony Walkman when you want to listen to music. Disconnect a little bit and be slower with your intake of the news, so to say.
Maybe we can close up with this question. Hello, can you say your name? Gediminas Kirdeikis. I suggest your channel all the time, but I want to say your name correctly.
My parents, my damn. In Lithuania, it's a normal name. It's Gediminas Kirdeikis. Kirdeikis. But just Gediminas. Give up on the last name. Doesn't matter.
I think in the beginning of this live, we had also the question that I asked you when we met for the first time about the nickname. So maybe let me just find it.
Nicknames?
This one. Yeah.
What's a nickname for yourself that you like? Oh, I don't have. I mean, now it's honestly Gedan. It has become Gedan from the second channel, and the second channel is Gedan because the students call me Gedan, because in Swedish Gedan is a type of a fish. I think it's trout or something. So they just my students gave up on my name and they just started calling me Gedan. And I'm like, but I already have a YouTube channel called Gediminas. I will create a second one and call it Gedan.
Yeah, then.
But that has been a problem. I actually, now you can also access the YouTube channel if you just add design go brr with 2 R's at the end. That's, I think, easier, maybe.
All right. So guys, now you know. There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
It's the same story with our last names, because our last names are also a little bit tricky for people to pronounce.
Yeah, you have the funky things, right, at
Yeah,
the ends of the names.
So in
Lithuanian
Serbia,
names have that as
yeah,
well.
the last names end up in like ich. So it's my name is Cvetkovic, Dusan Cvetkovic, Lazar Đurić. So for people who are not speaking like, our languages, it's also a little bit difficult to pronounce, but I guess we're gonna have to deal with this.
Do they say ik?
Be used to it. Yeah.
Svetkovic?
Yeah, they usually say.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
And it's at least you don't get "Are you Greek?" all the time.
So yeah, thank you again, Gediminas, for joining us. We had a wonderful time today. I hope we can repeat this some other time.
Oh yeah.
Possibly we're gonna see each other in our joint workshop in a couple of months. And yeah, thank you all of you for joining us for the talk. I hope you guys enjoyed. And yeah, we'll see you some other time. And just the last reminder, guys, How to Rhino workshop is finishing tomorrow. So tomorrow is the last day, May 14th, to see all of the workshop videos, and also to consider purchasing our courses. The enrollment is closing up tomorrow. So if you're interested, go to our website. It's actually located here. You can actually plug it in and can go there. If you're interested to see all of the courses that we offer, you have courses on Rhino, on Grasshopper, Rhino-side Revit. We're actually planning on publishing some new courses as well near the end of this year. So that's quite exciting. And yeah, once again, thank you all, and we'll see you some other time.
Thank you, Gediminas.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys. See you.